you. I'm just kidding you.
No, we're finished in December.
Oh, you were all done?
Yeah.
Oh, you did modified, right?
Yeah.
So what? How did it work out? We do fundamentals and all that stuff with 7th and 8th graders, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of learning, and sometimes that's fun, being able to teach a lot of stuff, and
oh, sure.
especially when it's new and they can adapt to it, they enjoy learning it. So that makes it fun, and did rather well. Sometimes a little early success can be a little scary. So.
Tomorrow we're supposed to do the Southwestern Fredonia game, and this weather doesn't. I don't know when this thing's supposed to hit. What, tomorrow afternoon? My wife said.
Well, I think it's going to be more. I really don't think we're going to get much.
Famous last words when you were stranded in New York City that one time.
I made it out. Other people didn't.
I don't think so much it's the snow. It's the freezing rain and sleep.
Yeah, but that sounds like it's going to be brief, though. In the morning. They said actually rush hour drive time for that.
Well, you'll see. I mean, you never know. Worst conditions are the ice. So, they're talking ice, slush, snow, slush, ice, and it's supposed to go up and down.
And then you have ice, and you have people, slamming on the brakes and stuff like that.
Nobody's in a hurry anymore, right?
I hope not.
Not if you're behind Ed on the highway.
No,
his horse can only go so fast.
That's right.
Giddy up.
That's right.
Those Clydesdales, right? They were going to put you in a Super Bowl ad with those horses.
Yeah. So we're very close to playoffs now. Just a few more games. It has to be done by 14th. I think it has to be cleared by the 14th.
I think the league games got to be done by this week, and then non-league games by next weekend.
Right.
And then they draw them usually Friday, Saturday.
So Bunge just has Allegheny then.
They have Allegheny, and then next week they got Silver Creek, the boys. They have a non-league game, and then that was scheduled, and that's what a few teams do. Like in bad years when you have extreme snow and a lot of cancellations, they always had that week to kind of fall back on if they had to use it. And I was talking with Bob last week. There are very few cancellations within the winter. It's only been within the last couple of weeks there's been cancellations. So.
Well, the boys have lost every non-league game this year that they've had.
They had some tough games though.
But they also had some D games too. They were in the Frewsburg tournament, and they lost two games in that.
I'm trying to think who the other team that the other.
Frewsburg, and was it Maple Grove?
Yeah, I think it was Maple Grove.
Yeah, and then Silver Creek, Frontier, and McKinley.
Frontier, A school, McKinley, A school. They had some tough teams, for the non-leaguers. Maybe Frewsburg boys aren't that bad though, It's a tough one. See what happens. I was hearing the boys today because they won yesterday. They might draw a home game and probably a pre-quarterly game. They were talking about it today in school.
They should end up 6-6 in the league.
So,
they should beat Allegheny next week.
Are they down? I don't know what Allegheny is.
That's a road game. That's a road game, right?
Is that in the road?
Yeah, I think so because
yes,
their home schedule is done.
Yeah, because they did senior night against Olean,
right,
which was their last home game.
So they got Allegheny Limestone, right?
It must be tomorrow night. Away.
Yes.
And then whatever day next week they play Silver Creek away.
And Fredonia will be finishing up tomorrow too. They got that game tomorrow in Fredonia, Southwestern. So that should be a good game.
Yeah, because both teams, Southwestern had come on. Their team had come together and they've been very competitive. So, but yeah, the boys today were talking about it. Looked like they're going to get probably a pre-quarterly game, a home game.
Did Southwestern beat Dunker? boys?
I think I'm not sure. They beat
must
they
have.
beat Faulkner. I think
The Dunkers had 2 losses to Olean, 2 to Fredonia, and the other 2 must have been Southwestern.
Southwestern.
You're talking boys.
Boys,
Yeah.
yeah, and then they beat Gowanda, Faulkner,
In
and
Allegheny.
Allegheny one time. They should beat them again. So,
You never know,
maybe
though.
Southwestern is decent, but Fredonia, they seem to have a few weapons there.
Fredonia?
Meyer,
Piper.
Fletcher, Piper.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a decent squad.
Yeah, they're decent. If they had, and I think you mentioned it, you said, I don't know if it was you that mentioned it, that if Fredonia had a big man.
Yeah, they don't have a.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, they had
No,
speed and quickness because I went to the first Dunkirk Fredonia game at Fredonia. And
They don't have any height.
No, but they went back to what I was watching. When Dave Polchetti used to coach, they went back to full court man. Pressuring the ball up the court, trapping as the ball comes over the half court. And against the Dunkirk game, the first game, they were very successful in that. I started to notice that motion offense back that had kind of gone away, and the pickaways down low coming up, and they were getting some inside baskets, forcing Dunkirk to collapse in, and then bang, they drilled them 3, boom, 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 and they got some decent shooters. So if they can keep the pressure up and they shoot well from the outside, that's the first Dunkirk Fredonia game. It was they opened up with the 3 threes and it was 9-0. That puts you in a hole, and then they put the pressure on them. I think Fredonia. I don't know how far they're going to go. Again, like I said, I don't know who are the big B school teams that are out there.
Is that Meyer a senior?
Not sure.
Or junior?
No. Junior. Piper's a sophomore.
Yeah, they're a young team.
I think Fletcher's young too, isn't he?
Who?
Fletcher.
I know they're a young team, but they can move.
Fletcher's young.
They run.
They're young.
Yeah, they run, and that's their game.
Yeah.
Push the ball up the court. So
They're a little more controlled, I think, this year than last year. They were strictly, popping. They're more. He's got them where he wants them lower now. I think he's done a good job with them. They're good kids.
How are Dunkirk JV's teams doing?
won a few. Tell me there's a freshman kid, tall kid that looks like the real deal. Questions of whether or not they probably will move a few up, for the playoffs. Top. When I always would go, I'd ask you who were your top 3 players or so. Maybe reward another kid who was Mr. Hustle and was always at practice, did the right thing. You move him up, So I'm assuming he's going to have a few kids up. I think he's down a little bit too. I think he's down to about 9 kids on the team.
In Dunkirk?
Yeah, I think there is. They're down.
Well, Bess wasn't there the other night, and Bess and who else? There were 2 missing. For what reason?
Oh, against Olean or Faulkner?
Yeah,
Against
this
the
game,
Olean
last game. They were Bess and one of the good ones weren't there. I don't know why.
Crossan?
Oh,
No, he was there.
he was there.
I mean, it's if they get hot and the right combinations click, I mean, the boys' team isn't bad. There is talent there, and we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see what the girls do too.
Yeah, I was really impressed yesterday. I mean,
Yeah.
that was. They played well. I mean, I'm not saying the competition was exactly the best.
Right.
But for coming off a long road game from Olean the night before, they sure looked good. They didn't look tired. They ran hard. And Jim knows about those trips to Olean the next day. Boy, you feel them. And they looked all right. So, who knows? There's some talent there, They have a nice combination and a nice starting 5. few girls who came off the bench and who, you know, didn't hurt the team much. So they went they won in, I think 2 games last year in the playoffs. They pulled a couple upsets off. So.
Yeah. Nance went over the 1,000-point mark. So there's only 3 at Dunkirk, and you think about this with some of the athletes they've had there. 1 boy, 2 girls that have went over 1,000 points. What's her name?
Karen Grace
Yeah, and
was
now,
the first.
Now her and
Nalepa and now Key Nance.
who?
Nalepa and then
And
Key Nance.
Nalepa's the only boy. But you know, what's difficult now, too, is you're dealing with 2 points. You know, you made from 21 feet, it was 2, now it's 3. And that makes a lot of difference, you know.
Yeah, you know.
But there's no way of knowing. I don't
No.
know if you're leading up to maybe talking about that in Delicado. Would you see at 800 and some
Yeah,
points?
it's a little over 800
The
points.
question is how many were from the outside?
Over 3 years.
You know.
It was a different game
Colorado,
too.
He was in and outside both.
You know, I mean, it was a different game. You know, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Slower game, more passing, little gyms. You know, small gyms. Set shot. You know, not a jump shot, more of a 2-hand set shot back then.
That was
50s.
that quite a while ago.
Talking the 50s. I mean, in the 50s, they were still, you know, throw that one foot would rise. They'd do the 2-hand set shot. I mean, that was a common shot. Layups were starting to emerge because they were starting to give the 2 steps. You know.
In the 50s. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it was a different game too. But I mean, think of the gym sizes back in the 50s and 60s, even the 70s. Even when I was coaching in the 90s at Kiwanda, I mean, we're still playing on a lot of little small gyms.
Yeah, back then, not only were the gyms small, so were the shorts.
Yeah, they were.
When I was a freshman, I shot 2 hands, and when I was a sophomore, what?
Yeah, it began to. The 50s is when basketball began to evolve a little, you know, and rules began to change, and time clocks began to come in. Not so much in high school or college, but professional. Started to be, evolving a little. You know, and there was no 3-second clock, I don't think, right? I mean, wasn't it Will Chamberlain or Mikan, one of those guys, that the 3-second lane violation came about because they couldn't get him out of there? I mean, the evolution of that, you know.
I just read something too. He didn't like anybody else to shoot. He wanted to be the shooter.
Mikan?
Mikan, yeah. He was very selfish. Interesting.
I just read the book
George,
on,
right? George Mikan was that?
Yeah, George Mikan.
Mhm.
So one thing I still remember from when I was a kid coming up through Dunkirk and Bermuda system, and we'd do the Mikan series, ball handling, or that was the short shot drills. Short shots, hook shots, short shot, hook shots, box shot shooting, it was all, right hand, left hand, and that was a big part of, our practices were doing them, and then the Maravich drills, which was incredible. I mean, think of Pete Maravich, 3 years where he averages 40 points, and there was no 3-point. Can you imagine if there was a 3-point line when Maravich played? He was draining them.
Calvin Murphy.
Or Calvin Murphy.
Those guys
Rick Barry. Those guys would be draining them long shots. There's no 3. I remember Bob McAdoo. Bob McAdoo used to take them from 25 and nothing but net, And those guys, Jerry West. I was just telling you, I just read a book on Jerry West. Can you imagine if there's a 3-point line when Jerry West was playing? He's throwing them 3s up.
That's right.
Oscar
Freddie Brown
Robinson.
from Seattle. He's coming
downtown.
Freddie Brown, and he was in the 70s. And he might have lasted after the 3-point came in, but I think early on he was just the 2 points.
Yeah, basketball really, I as a kid growing up around here, it was always it's always the sport that was the most fun, you know. Watching the little three, you know, watching Linear, and when he had the run with the St. Bonaventure and Calvin Murphy and at Niagara. I mean, it was a good feel of college basketball. We were in the national limelight. I mean, Western New York.
I think part of the excitement, I think there's no ESPN or anything back then, so they got a lot of coverage around here, so you would naturally, follow them. I think Channel 4 used to carry Bonaventure games.
Did you ever go to a Bonaventure game? I never went to a Bonaventure. Did you ever go to a Bonaventure game there?
Yeah. Once or twice.
I always wanted to go, you know, and even today, I think it'd be kind of fun just to go road trip, you know, to see a lot of these games, big time game, go down there and see a game. But
maybe a decent draw. We've had some decent teams come in.
Well, last year the one guy's in the pros. Orlando, I think he got drafted. Can't think of his name. So forward, 6'9" forward, I think he was. Came out of Canada, I think.
Yeah, well, it's good for them. Hopefully they can continue getting the. It's tough to get the elite athlete. To come to Olean.
What do you think about that mother today, about that college running back down in Miami, Florida, when they go to the college, sign your letter of intent day today. It was actually yesterday. And the mother wanted the kid to go to Miami, and he wanted to go to Arkansas. So when he goes to sign, she stands up and leaves because it had to be an adult to sign with it. What do you think of that?
I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, she just got him and walked out. So then today, he showed up to do it again with his father.
For Arkansas.
For Arkansas.
Obviously Dad didn't.
But the mother's looking into getting a lawyer for him to go to Miami. It's like, come on, you know.
Give it a life.
But see, that's where we're at. I mean, supposedly like the #1 recruiting running back in the United States, coming out of high school. But, you're right. It's such a big deal now. Why is it a big deal?
When did Fredonia start playing in that at the high school? Because you talk about we had a small gym. But I never remember that Fredonia was that small.
I used to play in the Wheelock school. Yeah. I mean, that was the gym that they used to play in.
It was bigger than Manzani's gym.
I've never been in it, so I don't know.
Yeah, a little bigger.
Yeah. When Manzani played Fredonia, they had a home and home with Fredonia when Roger Moore was the coach. And finally he said, I told this story on the air on one of the games. I didn't hear any backlash on it, but he told Father Dell that he said, I can't play here anymore. If I do, I'm going to have a heart attack playing in this gym. So, Father Dell, what he was like, he went up and went to the college, some college in Fredonia. But he had a heart attack anyways. He was Roger Moore was a very interesting guy. I got along with him.
I don't really remember him. I know he was there when I was in high school, and I know
a nice man.
It's named after him and everything. I mean, they had their teams. Remember their teams in the 70s? They were very competitive. With our teams in the 60s and the 70s.
There were a couple gyms that were smaller than ours, Jim. The league.
I know Casadega has an old gym that.
Yep. It
must be like a half court.
I remember playing varsity games in that old Casadega gym. They call it now it's their middle school gym.
Yeah, it's small.
Oh man, Frewsburg had a small gym.
And Fredonia one time played in that where they had you had to shoot. You had the iron things above. It was about 3 feet above the backboard.
Where was that at?
Fredonia.
Fredonia. Westfield used to have a small gym.
You couldn't shoot a jump shot. You shoot a jump shot, it'd be up in the beams.
Brockton had a small gym. I mean, they're old gym.
Right.
I remember these all little small gyms. Remember when we used to we used to call it Chattacoin League, the 9th grade league. When we go to the Jamestown schools, we'd play in the back of the stage. The basketball, there, you know, it'd be an auditorium, and the basketball court was on the back of the stage. And it was weird playing. I mean, I remember playing that, you know. I mean, that was the 3 elementary schools in Jamestown. And they didn't have, you know, it was not good, but, you know, we played on the back of the stage. I mean, Allegheny's gym was small. I remember for a playoff game, we went to Limestone's gym. When they first merged and they didn't have the school built, that was the same thing, you know. I mean, part of it was like, that was like a Manzini gym, Limestone's gym. But yeah, a lot of small gyms in the county, you know, throughout the county. I think they're all gone now. I don't think there is a small gym left. Olean's gym, it was similar to Dunker's gym because it had a balcony on top. It wasn't that big. I mean, there was enough room for seating. I mean, because of this large balcony. I don't know if you remember the old Olean gym until they built the beautiful gym they have now, the facility. But yeah, it wasn't a big gym, the old Olean gym. I remember going down, the locker rooms were in the basement. You had to walk down, you know, down a little corridor, and we went down into the cellar, and that's where the locker rooms were, the old Olean gym. But now they've just, you know, they've really invented, well, in the 90s is when they built that gym they have now. Beautiful, beautiful facility.
There were, when they built Manzani, and then Bishop Fallon, when they were a school, they were on Main Street in Buffalo. It was the exact building as Manzani, except the rear entrance was on Main Street and the main entrance was in the back. I don't know how that ever happened. And O'Hara is the same building as Manzani now.
Oh, really?
3 schools built, yeah, identical.
I mean, I walked in O'Hara.
You go over to O'Hara and look at it. It's the same. 3 schools built identical. Same people
Architect.
who built it. I'll build all 3 of them. Interesting.
Now, is that place on Main Street still there, that building?
No, it's not. Fallon, the building's not even there anymore.
They tore it down.
Yeah. That's gone.
What did you guys think about the Super Bowl?
Was there a Super Bowl? Oh, there was a Super Bowl, yes.
Jim,
what do you think about the Super Bowl?
I don't know where I was reading this article. It was on the web or in a paper or something. The officiating. They said Goodell purposely got an officiating crew that did not grade high this year because he didn't want them to stand out and be the focal point of the game. And yet these guys, I thought, were sort of pathetic that they weren't part of the focal point of the game.
I think he'd let them play.
There was one official that he was not supposed to be repping, and Goodell said he's repping.
Yeah, the referee and his crew. And there was another minority candidate that graded really high. And I don't know if his name was something like McQuaid or something like that, but this guy that they had, I mean, late in the game, you look at Sports Illustrated today, and there's a picture of a Niner, you know, breaking through the line, and he's wrapped up, you know, the Raven guy is holding him. And I saw that a lot, I thought. And then the punt, you know, when he took the safety late in the game. Right. It was plain as day. There was a 49er coming through, and the Ravens got his arms completely wrapped around his waist. And nothing was called. I mean, what is that? And I mean, that guy had 7 seconds to just stand there and then run over to the side. Right. And there wasn't even a 49er. One finally got near him, but, right. You know, on punch, you do not have that much time. No. You know, I'm sorry. And then the last play, they said could have went either way. You know, penalty or not. Yeah, he did get maybe an illegal contact or something, or a hold.
It would have been a tough one. I mean, it was, what I don't understand, I mean, I thought the officiating was okay. I mean, there wasn't, I don't think, one play that, through the officiating, the play that they did call, nobody really notices, or we'd still be talking about it. What I don't understand is, the 49ers had a chance to tie the game up on the 2-point conversion. Kaepernick had just took off with the ball. I think he scored that touchdown, a 15-yard run. Longest run by a quarterback in a Super Bowl, 15 yards. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, but anyway, they go for the 2-point conversion, and they try and throw the ball. Instead of, here you got this 6'4" stud, who could literally just take the ball and go on a naked bootleg somewhere and outrun the linebackers or the cornerbacks, or stand up to them and literally bull himself in there, or have a trailing running back and pitch it. They throw it, and then they get the ball.
They put pressure on him, so I mean, he really didn't have much time.
But then they get the ball back and they march down. They got 1st and goal at the 7, and then they do the same thing 4 more times in a row instead of trying to run the ball. It was. Don't you think that was the frustrating part? The four pass plays.
They eaten up some time out. So I mean, that was part of the thing too. I think they only had one maybe left timeout. So if they ran it too much, I mean, they'd be careful with the clock, because I think at that point time was getting.
But don't you think the play calling was terrible for those last 4 plays?
Wasn't good.
I mean, and they're all to the right side of the field.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't necessarily have to run, but if he at least scrambled around.
Anything. Anything,
At least keep them honest, instead of letting them blow through the line and get a good rush, or and some of the passes where he did throw it to.
It just, I don't know. The 49ers had scored so many points throughout the year. They scored a lot of points in that game coming back, and then they just fall apart, the last minute. They're there,
It's probably a good thing Ray Lewis is retiring, because he looked slow in that game. He just, they were running right by him, and he just did not have a good game.
Well, he didn't have his deer stuff.
Your helicopter is there for you.
Yeah.
Did you think the blackout had anything?
Yeah.
Somebody said something about it gave the Niners time to calm down, relax. And I was thinking, well, that's what halftime is for, maybe, a little extra longer, like halftime break. But, I was thinking while it was going on, could, either team tighten up. I mean, the Ravens had older players, but, you're out there running around. But, you saw the guys out there stretching, they were trying to stay as loose as they could, But, I don't know. Maybe it did just help the Niners focus a little better and, execute.
I mean, to come back from being down 28-6,
Yeah.
to where they get it to where they got a shot at tying the ball game up with the 2-point conversion. What more could the NFL want? I mean, it looked like it was going to be a kill. They come back and just, it turned out to be a great game.
It was a great game.
It was.
What did we go? 1-1 against Baltimore?
Did we, or I thought we lost both.
Did we lose both of them?
Yeah. I thought
We were 1-1 with
Cleveland beat
Pittsburgh.
Cincinnati and the Steelers.
Right. Split.
Yeah. So they lost both.
Look
of
that
them.
up for the next show. would
I'm
you?
sure they
You
lost.
think Flacco should get the big contract now? Is he worth it?
Pretty good.
I mean, should he be brought up into that, Peyton Manning and
No. Not yet.
Aaron Rodgers, no.
Rodgers and
yet.
They got
Brady
time.
money?
He might be.
Well, he's going to be a free agent next month. I mean, you got to do something. I mean, they can franchise him for 1 year, and then he'd be
No,
paid.
that'd give more time than to work a deal out. But you can come to Cleveland,
Couldn't
right?
sign him. I was thinking
Yeah,
the same
but
thing
I mean,
you.
think about it. If you're Flacco, okay, they franchise you. Do you report to camp, knowing that you only have 1 year deal? You know, he wants $100 million deal. Does he want to go that 1 year and take the risk of getting hurt, or will he hold out? So franchising him might sound well, but for the Ravens, but would he report, or would he be a holdout? Because he wants a long time guaranteed contract.
Well, under the rules, if they franchise him, he's stuck.
But he doesn't have to report. Doesn't have to
Well, that'd
play.
be almost like suicide. You sit out a year.
They never do that.
Never happened.
Let's turn to hockey.
Maybe the Bills would be interested in him.
Let's turn to hockey.
Trying to tell me the Browns wouldn't take Joe Flacco?
I don't know. He's all right where he is in that system. I don't know if he'd do well with Cleveland. And Ed's favorite receiver is gone now. Mohamed Massaquoi, they said they're not bringing him back. So,
My favorite?
yeah.
Let's talk about hockey. Let's talk about the Sabres. In the dumper.
Somebody said to work today that the owner said Lindy Ruff's not going anywhere this year, and I said I came back with a reply that well, neither is the team. I mean, what 3-9? Is that what they are?
Something I'm not sure what the record is.
They are never going to fire him. It is not going to happen. It's not going to
It's
happen.
obvious they're not responding.
This Grigorenko, flashy skater and that, supposedly a good offensive player, and I don't know if it seems like Lindy Ruff's system was where good offensive players go to die, but I mean Vanek's having a great year. He's flourishing.
But Vanek's, he's having a great year, but he's also doing a lot of little things that he didn't do in the past. He's really playing that grinder role too. He's taking the hits. He's standing up in the front more, and he's getting beat he's getting beat up a lot. He had to sit out that one game because he had, I forget what the injury they call it, but basically it sounded like he was, punched up a little bit too much. But he is having a great year.
They shouldn't have used him in that role. They shouldn't have let him be in a spot where, he could get beat up. You don't do that with your top player. You have other guys to do that.
I mean, what do you do? I'm a big time Sabre fan, but what do you do? I mean, they're just not playing good. Their defense is giving up, 30, 35 shots a game. I mean, you can't do that.
The goalies' averages aren't that great.
Well, you can't do it this year because they don't have the time to rest. I mean, you're playing every two or 3 days. You're not to mention quite a number of games this year where they're playing back to back.
They're only in 12 games. I mean, if it was like the 60th game of the season, I could see fatigue, but 12 games, they should still be fresh. And Enroth, the Ottawa game, I was watching that, and I was thinking, geez, if Miller was in there, they might have won.
They've played 12 games since, the 15th? When the season started?
Yeah, almost 4 weeks.
So 12 games in 4 weeks, so that's
3 weeks, 3.5 weeks.
3.5 weeks. They're playing 4 games three games a week, basically. That's a lot of games. You're traveling, I mean, I know what you mean. Yeah, they haven't played many games yet.
You practice every day, so a game is just...
You haven't played many games yet. They didn't have much of a preseason, but still, for a goaltender, okay? I mean, facing 35 shots a game, which is what Buffalo's giving up. Can you play Miller every game?
No, because they said he's gone high the last couple of years and he seems to wear down. His best is not March and April. He usually does better January, February. 3-4 months into it, but and then by March he starts slipping a little.
But you can't compare last season's.
Yeah.
This is a different season. It's a different.
Yeah. So right now he should still be fresh. To me, that's my feeling. And Enroth, geez, they'd use him more if he'd show something more.
Looks terrible. He really does.
But 2 years ago he looked really good, and then late last year
I'd say put him on waivers if he doesn't Nobody claims him. Send him down to Rochester and bring that Rochester goalie up, who's actually having a very good year down in Rochester. You know, make a move, do something. You know, I mean, you hate to say it, but see the Sabres, they just, I don't know. I mean, other teams have got fired coaches when, you know, I mean, I think back a couple years ago when St. Louis, I forget who was coaching that team. I think that Hitchcock went to St. Louis, like middle of the season, and Hitchcock was with Philly, maybe. Forget where he was with. I'm not sure. They let him go, and they fired St. Louis, fired its coach, brought him in, and next thing you know, they made the playoffs, and St. Louis has been very competitive since. Is it time to get rid of Lindy Ruff? That's the question.
Or, I don't know, you know, could somebody else get more out of the players that are there?
Right. That's the question.
Is there somebody around that could be that person? You know, I don't know. I don't even know who's coaching in Rochester, who they have.
I'm not sure either who's down there.
Years ago, it used to be Randy Cunningworth, but I think
Nah,
he left the organization.
Isn't he up in
Maine or something?
Is he in Maine?
Did he go?
I thought he went to the pros, like Ottawa or
Wait, Montreal, was it?
Montreal, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I thought he got his chance up there. But would the Sabres do better with a new coach? Is it time to bring a new face in? While you can still salvage whatever's left of the season. Right now they said Buffalo's 14th place. You know, out of the playoff, what, top 8 teams make the playoffs? I mean, so they're a long way off. What do you think, Ed?
They're not gonna make it. It'd have to be a tremendous rush.
And here's the thing: they had a good game against Boston, and then they
Number one team.
numbers. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, what did they do that game that they can't do other games?
Let's talk a little baseball. Baseball
you're jumping
coming
all
up
over.
with 7, 8 days, spring training.
You get all juiced up for the season?
We're gonna be better.
Another name came out. Ex-Indian, Johnny Peralta,
What, in the HGA
in that
thing? In
Florida
Miami
clinic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah, he was named in those.
Was
reports.
he with the Indians when he was doing it, or was he with the Tigers?
That I'm not sure.
What's gonna happen there?
I guess as good as mine, you know. Bud looked the other way, Sea League, you know, he might, you know. Again, it's just exactly what is in these reports, how much can they catch these people, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
what about the Red Sox?
Well, I mean, just with the drug thing, you know, once you think we're getting past that.
Well, the fact Ryan
Yeah.
Braun was listed in that,
Yeah.
and he got nailed a year ago. You know,
He got off of the
tested positive, and it was a technicality because it wasn't handled right
Yeah,
or
it
something.
was in the guy's trunk or something when it should have been brought to the
Yeah.
lab.
It was never open.
But
It was
you
just-
think, you know, you think these guys would know better. You know, isn't it time? Okay, we're trying to get past that steroid age and, you know, all that stuff, and here it is. It's still here.
Raises its ugly head again.
Well, it's right. You know, when did these guys? I mean, in both sides, the union and the league has gone out of their way to try and ban all these substances, but it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. I mean, look at the All-Star vote, or excuse me, the Hall of Fame vote. You know, they passed on some big-time names with some big-time records, and the sports writers, you know, they didn't vote anybody in. You know, I mean, they just passed.
Next year they will, though. I mean, Maddox, Greg Maddox, Tom Glavine, and Frank Thomas are all up. And I'm sure those three will go in.
Yeah, and those three have never been accused of anything. But I mean, you know, if you looked at the statistics of those baseball players who, you know, had records which were like, wow, unmatched, Clemens and I'm trying to think of all the players that were
Sosa,
Sosa,
McGuire,
McGuire.
Barnes,
Bonds, right? Barry Bonds was his name.
Clemens,
You know,
Rafael Palmeiro.
Palmeiro. He's the only one that actually got caught. But you know, here it is back again when you're trying to get rid of that stuff. I don't know. Red Sox. I don't know what's going on with the Sox. We signed Mike Napoli, the catcher from Texas, to a 1-year, $5 million deal. And
If he's healthy, that's a good sign.
well, I think he's going to play first base for us.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. You
You
got
know?
Salta Lamacchia.
They signed Salton Malacca for a 1-year deal, and then they went to Atlanta and signed their catcher. So we got 3 catchers on our lineup. But I think the Napoli, I think he's looking to probably make him the first baseman because we don't have a first baseman right now.
So you got him and Ortiz, Salta Lamacchia, some power.
Hopefully
Ellsbury.
Pedoria comes.
Who's going to be third base?
Middlebrooks, rookie
Oh,
that they
yeah.
had last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, he's got some power, so yeah, I mean,
He came on.
And then Dummy he hits a wall out of frustration,
Yeah.
and I think he broke his thumb, and he was done for the season.
yeah, Cleveland's got one of those.
What one was yours?
Was it Hagedon, the relief pitcher?
He hit the wall.
Got yanked out of the game and, punched the wall, broke his arm.
So I think Boston, but out of those guys, okay, Ortiz is coming off of a hamstring or Achilles tendon problem, and there's no saying he's going to come back. He struggled once he came back at the end after, he didn't have the power. As a matter of fact, I don't even think he finished the year. Where he hurt it, and that was it. He had high numbers until he hurt his hamstring or his Achilles. Pedoria was hurt. We got a lot of ifs, and our biggest ifs is our pitching. Ryan,
Every team the same pitch.
we signed that Damster to a 2-year deal. We got to hope that Lackey comes back, and maybe he could pitch well.
You got Lester, Buckle.
Lester had a down year. Hopefully he can turn it around. Now the key to that is, I think, our manager, John Farrell, being a pitcher and ex-pitching coach of the Boston before he went to Toronto. If he could turn that staff around, I think we'll be okay. And I think that's the key. So we ain't gonna be as powerful batting. I think it's gonna come down to our pitching, and if Farrell can figure out what's going on there.
Actually, that division, I actually think the Yankees are going to come back a little bit. Losing Swisher and Ibanez. Russell Martin went to the Pirates. They let some guys go, and then A-Rod being hurt, if he's missing at least half the year.
No, last place.
Well, I mean, Tampa Bay, Joe Maddon's always got them in the hunt. Baltimore really came on last year. Toronto has made a lot of moves, picked up some good pitching, and
I think statistically Toronto could be the best on the books in that division.
Jose Reyes at shortstop. They got Bautista still with the home runs. I mean, and then
Cabrera.
Encarnacion.
Cabrera, outfield.
So
They got the two starting pitchers from Miami.
Right.
Plus their pitching, and then they got the guy from the Mets.
R.A. Dickey.
R.A. Dickey.
I think the Indians are much better this year. Much better team.
Okay.
Pitching again.
I gotta have proof. They've gotten people, but I don't know how well that's gonna work out. Brett Myers, it's been over a year since he started. He was all right, but I'm not sold on him. You got Ubaldo Jimenez. He's been struggling. You got Masterson, who good 2 years ago. He had a little bit of a tailback last year.
He didn't seem like he was coached well last
And then they're
year.
hoping for other guys to come through. So I still say they got a lot of questions.
Masterson throws bullets, man. He throws hard, but he just didn't. One game I went to last year and saw him in Cleveland, he just didn't look like he was in his groove. He just didn't. Just looked like he wasn't getting coached well.
Well, Ed was like this. I saw some baseball expert said that Jason Kipnis is probably the next Chase Utley.
A what?
Next Chase Utley. That's good.
Good.
He's an all-star second
Very
baseman for
good.
the Phillies. So yeah, if Kipnis can do that,
I think Francona's gonna do okay with you guys. Now the key is whether or not he can get him to overachieve. You know.
yeah, you gotta have the third baseman Chisenhall come through.
They got more power now.
They got more power, but you hope that that power comes through. You know, I mean, you know, Swisher's got to hit his 25 to 30. You hope Reynolds hits.
And he could in
25
that
to 30.
field.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, he's got a big stick. I mean,
You got your opening day tickets yet?
No,
You're going to?
no,
You're not?
I don't go to opening days anymore.
why? Just not fun.
Well,
Weather.
I haven't gone since the last time I went to an opening day. The guy behind me dumped a beer on me, so you know, I just. It's not your typical baseball crowd. You get a lot of.
They'll do that in Cleveland.
I went last year. The second series. The Sox were in town. The second April. It was their second series and home series. It was early April, and I went. And I mean, there was like 9,000 tickets sold, but if there were 5,000 people there, they were lucky. You know.
See, that's what's nice. You go to a game like that. You know, you get a better seat.
Oh.
You know,
We bought first row seats right off where the tarps are. My kid bought them off. I mean, we could have bought the cheap seats and you know, went down there and sat, but we bought them. I think you got them on StubHub for like $9. We laughed, you know. We were. I mean, people were just, you know, trying to give their season tickets away.
I went to the last game of the year against the White Sox, and I'm sitting in the outfield, and this guy next to me, we started a conversation, and he ended up asking me where I was from, and then he goes, "Yeah, I know somebody from Dunkirk." And I was like, "Holy cow!" You know, here I'm at a game in Ohio, and you know, he knew somebody in town here, so that was sort of interesting. Helped the conversation along.
You knew Ed Eaker.
No, it wasn't anything. But yeah, sometimes you go to the April games where it's often in Boston this year is on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Again, early April.
Around the 15th, 18th.
Yeah, that's
The Yankees
tough.
are before that. They come in on the 8th.
Terrible.
Yeah,
They don't-
and then they're done. Those
Never-
two teams are done then.
Never get a fair schedule.
Yeah, and that's stupid
10 and
because
20.
all the Yankee and Red Sox fans that are in this area, you know, if I mean, that's why I don't understand why they would Cleveland. I mean, always the Yankees would play in August, you know, late July, August in Cleveland. And they get 100,000 people in those 3-game series.
Or
You
even
know,
if it's June, but you know, in
I mean,
April, have like the Twins or the Royals or some,
Yeah.
you know, that you're going to see again anyway in the summer and September.
right?
You know.
Yeah, with division game, you know, within a. But yeah, I mean that's a blow to for Cleveland. I mean, because those were 100,000 seats that they could sell. Now, are they going to get 100,000 Yankee fans that come in early April for 3-game
You'll
series?
get some, but you're not going to get the.
You're not going to get 30,000 a game, are you?
No, and as a matter of fact,
draw
somebody
better.
said one of the clubs in town usually gets an excursion bus, isn't going to do it because it's too early, too cold. You know?
I think they'll draw pretty good this year.
Well, maybe early on. You know, everybody goes, and then once they see what the product is, if they're losing, it tails off. You know. So.
You have high hopes, though, don't you?
Oh yeah, you hope that they do, but you know, again, there's still a lot of the same people the last couple of years that have been failing there. You know, and it's just, you know, they're nickel and diming. You know, they're getting all these people and inviting them to the major league camp, but they're, you know, reclamation projects.
Is Toby signed?
No.
Boy, was I happy to see Hefner go to the Yankees.
$2 million.
That was-
Is it a waste of $2 million though?
for who, the Yankees?
Yeah.
That Major League Baseball station, they were saying that Tommy was gonna sign with New York.
Well, you could.
Well, they got Hefner,
But
but
they
again,
got
they got
Hefner.
Hefner. It's the
Well,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So what do they need Tommy
That's
for?
the
if
reason
they
why
got
Cleveland
Hefner?
never brought Tommy back. Because
Cleveland, that would be a good move to bring Tommy back. for a lot of reasons.
It's a PR move, but you got Reynolds. This guy they got in a Rule 5 draft from Texas. I think it's Chris McGinnis. He's supposedly a real deal power hitter, first baseman.
But you can use him as
righty or lefty
from the left side as DH. You know.
Yeah, but I think what they're going to do is just run all these other guys, use the DH as a time for rest instead of the the starters. Give them a day off as a DH. You know, and again, yeah, Tome would be nice, but I think you got to move past that. He's what, 41, 42.
Maybe he's done. His back.
Yeah.
They will sign him. I'll predict that.
Nobody signed him yet.
Cleveland will.
But they're gonna give him $1 million.
Didn't get much more than that last year, but and again, here's another thing. Omar Vizquel, who was immensely popular too in Cleveland.
Free agent.
He had the most girlfriends on the team, but well, he's retired. He was hired by California, or Los Angeles Angels as a roving coach. The Indians couldn't find a spot for him.
Yeah, they couldn't take care of him as a coach. You're right.
Why couldn't they bring back somebody that the fans loved? I thought they should have did that last year, like they did Tony the year before. Give us
right.
And he's got a good chance to be a Hall of
Boy,
Famer.
he wanted his 3,000 hits though. I mean, you can tell. I think he hung around this for long because I think he was just on the.
He needs what, 200 and some yet?
Somewhere right around there. It wasn't a lot. I mean, if he had played the last couple of years full time, 150 games a year, he might have had it. But time caught up with him.
He's tough now.
But he's a coach now. But Cleveland never.
Is he going to be a playing coach?
No,
he's not.
He's 45 or 46.
Yeah, he's old, man.
Yeah, he's older than Tony.
It goes back to the what? 80s.
Late 80s, yeah, with Seattle.
And the glory days of the early 90s with you guys.
Yeah, I think 88 was his first year. So.
Yeah, it was. Well, he came from Seattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a great deal for you guys.
But sometimes it's nice to give, here's another guy, Ed, Kenny Lofton.
Mm-hmm.
They had him in spring training last year helping instruct the outfielders. Why can't they give him a more prominent position?
Make him bench coach or something, bullpen coach.
Yeah, they
sometimes maybe you don't know. Maybe they were offered. Maybe they didn't want to do that.
But he's not doing it with anybody else.
For sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a shame. I never saw where either accepted or rejected, or if it was offered.
Who was the big first baseman for you guys that hit a lot of home runs? He was in the outfield too, like 6'7". He had a couple.
Oh,
recently?
No, back in those.
Back
70s.
in the 90s, wasn't it?
Back in the 90s.
He was a left-handed first baseman.
Paul Serrano?
No,
Paul Serrano.
No, he's a big, tall guy. And then he went to the Yankees, I think, and played. It wasn't Paul Serrano, or maybe he was an outfielder, but I thought he was. They moved him to first. Big, tall guy.
In the 90s, they had Ramirez,
George Hendricks?
No.
Talking about George Hendricks?
Serrano at first.
He's a big, tall guy, man. He was club the ball. 6'7".
Barley at second.
And he ended up going, and maybe he went to Seattle.
Vizquel was short.
After.
The third baseman was
a big, tall guy. He had like 40 home runs one year for you guys. And I can't think of his name. But, I mean, he came up with Manny and those guys. It was like the last guy to come through the farm system after Manny. Big, tall guy, 6'7". I can't think of his name.
Serrano was the first.
Wasn't Serrano?
Eddie Murray was the DH.
Can't think of his name. Anyway.
Oh, I think I know what he's talking about.
Because I think he went to Seattle after, and he had a couple of years there, 40 home runs.
He was the DH, I think.
He was the DH, but he also played first for you guys. A big, tall guy. I think you guys stuck him in the outfield a few times.
Yes, it did.
But he dropped the ball too many times. He wasn't strong.
Russell Brand?
No.
I know who he's talking about.
The big, tall guy. This guy was huge. I mean, I think he was a left-handed hitter too. Man, he can club the ball though. I can't think of his name. Anybody out there know who that big guy was for Cleveland during the 90s? Because then he moved on. I thought he might have played a year with the Yankees. I think he played with Seattle for a couple of years before he was an all-star too because of the home runs he did.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 8 o'clock,
I heard the church bell.
and when we come back, trivia time. Phone number 0823, and let's go, huh, Jim? We'll start out with football. Who was the first player selected first overall in the draft to be a Super Bowl MVP? Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, John Elway, or Emmitt Smith? 0823 is our phone number. You're on the air.
Hello?
Go ahead.
I'm going to say Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw? You got it. Who's calling?
Jason Ricotta.
Wow, that was a good guess. Oh, let's see. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. How about Kosciuszko Club?
Sounds good.
$5 certificate towards a fish dinner at the Kosciuszko Club. Pick it up at Matt's News, okay?
All right, thank you.
Okay, have a good one. 0823 is our phone number. What NFL team introduced the no-huddle offense? The Bills, the Bengals, the 49ers, or the Chargers?
The Bills.
That's not correct. 0823 is our phone number. I have a problem with that no-huddle offense was in... It didn't happen there. How many times did the Saints have a winning record during Archie Manning's career, who was the quarterback of the Saints? 0, 1, 2, or 3 times. You're on the air. Go ahead.
2.
2. That's not correct. Thanks for the call. Baseball question. What player did the Reds intentionally walk a record 5 times in one game? Andre Dawson, Howard Johnson, Willie Mays, or Willie McCovey? What player did the Reds intentionally walk a record 5 times in one game? Andre Dawson, Howard Johnson, Willie Mays, or Willie McCovey? 0823 is our phone number. I do not hear the phone ringing. You know the answer to that, Jim?
I have a guess.
You got a guess, huh? What player did the Reds intentionally walk a record 5 times in one game? Dawson, Johnson, Mays, or McCovey? Nobody wants to call. 366-0823 is our phone number. Just take a guess, folks. What player did the Reds intentionally walk a record 5 times in one game? Andre Dawson, Howard Johnson, Willie Mays, or Willie McCovey?
I think they're watching the Sabres.
The phone is ringing. You're on Sports Wrap. Go ahead.
Andre Dawson.
Andre Dawson. Who's calling?
Dan Willis.
Dan Willis. How about Mary's Deli?
Sounds good.
And you know where to pick it up?
Yep.
Where?
Matt.
You got it. Have a good evening.
All right.
0823 is our phone number. What team was the first to draw 4 million fans? The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, or the Cardinals?
The Dodgers.
Is not correct. Thanks for the call. And since 1951, which of the following pitchers did not win 20 games for our last place team? Gaylord Perry, Steve Carlton, Nolan Ryan, or Phil Niekro? In 1951, which of the following pitchers? Phone's ringing. You're on the air. Go ahead. You're on Sports Wrap.
Phil Niekro.
Phil Niekro. That is not correct. Thanks for the call. Who is the only catcher to have caught 2 perfect games? Russ Nixon, Del Crandall, Ron Hasse, or Jim Hegan? Who is the only catcher to have caught 2 perfect games? Russ Nixon, Del Crandall, Ron Hasse, or Jim Hegan?
I'm Hasse.
You're on the air. You're very low. Go ahead. What was your guess?
Ron Hasse.
Hasse?
Ron Hasse. Okay, absolutely correct. Who's calling?
Joe. Joe Reading.
Joe, what's the last name?
Reading.
Reading. Oh, okay. How about Matt's News?
That's good.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reading.
Have a good night.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
I'm around working every day, brother.
Okay, have a good one. Okay. What baseball team?
Who did he catch the perfect games for? Len Barker was one.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Ron Hassey and Jim Hegan played for the same baseball team. Tell me what the team was.
Oh, man.
Ron Hassey and Jim Hegan played for the same Major League Baseball team. You're on Sports Wrap. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Oakland A's.
The Oakland A's is not correct. Thanks for the call. In how many consecutive World Series did Roberto Clemente hit? 11, 12, 13, or 14? 366-0823 is our phone number.
And how many games?
In how many consecutive World Series games did Roberto Clemente hit? 11, 12, 13, or 14? You're on Sports Wrap. Go ahead. You're on the air.
11.
11 is a good try, but that's not correct. Who was the only pitcher to register 5 decisions in one World Series, winning 3 games and losing 2? Deacon Phillips, Jack Coombs, Art Neff, or Willie Moore? All familiar names to you folks out there. Who was the only pitcher to register 5 decisions in one World Series, 3 games, and losing 2? Deacon Phillips, Jack Coombs, Art Neff, or Willie Moore? Take a guess.
Deacon Phillips.
Deacon Phillips. You son of a gun. How did you know that?
I just know it.
You just knew it or you guessed it?
A little of each.
Okay, who's calling?
Gary Butler.
Gary, how you doing?
Very good.
Mary's Deli.
Mary's Deli.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye-bye.
What pitcher lost 3 games in one World Series? Joe Bush, Ed Summers, George Frazier, or Hugh Casey? What pitcher lost 3 games in one World Series? Joe Bush, Ed Summers, George Frazier, or Hugh Casey? 0823 is our phone number. You're watching Trivia on Sports Wrap. Do we have a caller? Paula Arntz is anxiously waiting to answer the phone. What pitcher lost 3 games in one World Series? Joe Bush, Ed Summers, George Frazier, or Hugh Casey? Somebody just take a guess. You might be right. You certainly know the answer to that, Jim, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Give me my prize.
What pitcher lost 3 games in one World Series? Joe Bush, Ed Summers, George Frazier, Hugh Casey. Make a phone call. You're holding the show up.
You're going to be on TV again tomorrow night at 3 straight nights.
Who?
You.
Oh,
You're doing the game tomorrow.
yeah. My wife. Tell my wife that. Who was the first player selected first overall in the draft to be a Super Bowl MVP? Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, John Elway, or Emmitt Smith? Who was the first player selected first overall in the draft to be a Super Bowl MVP? Aikman, Bradshaw, Elway, Smith. 0823 is our phone number.
And not a single Brown in the bunch.
I don't think so.
Or a Bill.
Well, we go back to the 50s, we could go through 10 years of them, right?
People say that doesn't count.
You know, don't get me started on that one. I still don't understand that. They win 10 straight titles,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And the NFL says they don't count.
Well, people think it's not a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's-
You're on the air, go ahead.
What's the question about the most?
Who was the first player selected first overall in the draft to be a Super Bowl MVP? Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, John Elway, or Emmitt Smith?
I think John Elway.
John Elway, that's a good try. No cigar. Thanks for the call.
Okay, bye.
Yep. For what team did Tom Landry play defensive back? Tom Landry, the great coach of the Cowboys. Browns, Bears, Redskins, or Giants? For what team did Tom Landry play defensive back? The Browns, the Bears, the Redskins, or the Giants? 0823 is our phone number. Got about 14 minutes left in trivia.
Wow. 12 hit.
12 minutes? Oh, I'm sorry, Paula. My mistake. For what team did Tom Landry play defensive back? The Browns, the Bears, the Redskins, or the Giants? Trivia may end sooner.
While we have time, how do you feel about Art Modell not making the Hall of Fame? Should he have been in?
I don't know. I really didn't. I didn't have any feelings one way or the other. What about you?
I didn't want him in.
You didn't?
No.
Well, he
I
did.
didn't think he did a lot anyway.
He did well. The big thing that he did for the National Football League is that he got the television contract. And you realize how huge that has become now?
Yeah, but I heard it wasn't him alone. It was
Well,
a group of.
well, but he was in the radio business too. Okay, in what year were NFL players required to wear helmets?
Every year.
1943, 44, 45, or 47? In what year were NFL players required to wear helmets? 1943, 1944, 1945, 1947. And it's not hard to pick up the phone and just guess one of those numbers, folks. I think we get people who are on the computer and they're trying to look up answers.
Or their iPhones.
In what year were the NFL players required to wear helmets? 43, 44, 45, 47.
Got one on the air.
44.
1944 is not correct. Thanks for the call. What NFL team introduced the no huddle offense? And they did not, I repeat, they did not introduce the no huddle offense. It happened in Dunkirk, New York. The Bills, the Bengals, the 49ers, or the Chargers. Am I right or wrong, Jim?
You see, you're right.
I know I'm right. What NFL team introduced the no-huddle offense? The Bills, the Bengals, the 49ers, or the Chargers? Good evening, you're on the air.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think it's the 49ers.
The 49ers, it's not correct. Thanks for the call. All right. I'm going to throw this question at you. If you get the right answer, we're going to give you 2 prizes. How many times did the Saints have a winning record during Archie Manning's career? How many times did the Saints have a winning record during Archie Manning's career? You get the answer correct, we're going to give you 2 prizes. Silence is deafening. You know the answer to that, Jim?
I believe I do it.
How many times did the Saints have a winning record during Archie Manning's career? Get the right answer. You have 2 prizes coming. Good evening, you're on the air.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I've got the answer, I believe.
Go ahead.
0.
0 is absolutely correct. Who's calling?
Chris Outlaw.
Chris, what's the last name?
Outlaw.
Alba?
Okay.
Okay, how about Matt's News and Tim Hortons 1 coffee cup?
So you got a coffee cup coming, and that will be at Matt's Snooze. And you got yourself, what else, Jim?
Matt's News, scratch off.
And you got those 5 scratch-off tickets. Maybe you'll win $50,000. You never know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Okay, one more question. Which one of the following teams was not a member of the All-American Football Conference? The Steelers, the Browns, the 49ers, or the Colts? We've got about, what, 3 minutes, Paul?
6.
Which one of the following teams was not a member of the All-American Football Conference? The Steelers, the Browns, the 49ers, or the Colts? Good evening, you're on the air.
49ers.
The 49ers. That is not correct.
Broke his heart.
Another one on.
Yeah, the Browns.
You're on the air. No, Browns is not correct. We got 2 of the 4 eliminated. Do we have another caller?
No.
There's only 2 left. Steelers or the Colts. We've got 1 minute. Or we say adios. You're on the air. You're on the air.
Colts.
The Colts is not correct. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for our sports wrap tonight. And we thank...
Well,
What?
you got one more waiting.
We got one more?
Well, they hung up.
They hung up it.
They hung up.
Yeah.
We'll see if she calls back. Let's give her a minute, okay?
Okay.
We'll see if the phone rings. Do you have practice for your girls' team tomorrow?
Nope, we're done.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
I think they hung up again.
Yep, they hung up.
There you go. Okay, that'll wrap it up for Sports Wrap tonight. We thank Paul Arndt spinning the dials as she does so well all the time. And remember, tomorrow night's Southwestern Fredonia game will be on Channel 19 in Dunkirk and on Channel 5 in Fredonia. Have a good evening, everybody.